Do you want your very own buddy to commit war crimes with? Take me home today! The Kirsche Tues plush is on sale now from November 18th through December 2nd. The link is both on screen and in the video description below. Kirsche is made of soft materials to keep you cozy in any foxhole, underground bunker, or even just your warm, comfy bed. Standard correction practices may need to be utilized to get your Kirsche to accurately follow instructions. This product has not yet been evaluated by the FDA, FDIC, or the IRS. This product has not yet been proven to cure depression. If you're having any side effects, including nausea, diarrhea, headache, fatigue, loss of sight, loss of limbs, weaponry suddenly going missing, upset stomach, waking up with an IV draining your blood for science experiments, blood clot, stroke, heart attack, small caches of food, and drugs appearing inside your walls, call your doctor immediately, but they probably can't help you. It's too late. Bring home your new best friend today and experience the thrill of living with Kirsche. Your stuff done. Okay, so yeah, I haven't read this. All the DEI blends together. It's important, in my opinion. It's important to read all their corporate slop so you know what they're up to. He's one cell of a guy. No signs of having brought it up in the past? Hell yeah. Since 2022, anti-DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion activists have attacked DEI goals, talent programs aimed at specific demographics, and supplier diversity initiatives. Notably, there have been some household names, John Deere, Lowe's, Harley-Davidson, that have pivoted their DEI strategies amid this pushback. Not gotten rid of, pivoted their DEI strategies. However, despite this perceived pushback, corporate support for DEI remains strong. According to Tenio's new The State of Sustainability in 2024 DEI Will Survive report, what the fuck is that? 67% of companies have targeted talent programs for diverse talent. 70% of companies have supplier diversity programs. To get a more accurate idea of companies' commitment to DEI, it's important to look at these three areas: DEI goals, DEI talent programs, and supplier diversity programs. If your organization has yet to set goals, build talent programs, or supplier diversity programs, it's not too late to start. To effectively set DEI goals, it is important to first assess the current state of your organization and get a baseline of data, quantitative and qualitative. This can involve gathering data on employee demographics, conducting assessments or listening sessions to understand employee perceptions, and analyzing policies and practices to identify potential barriers to diversity and inclusion. Once you have a clear understanding of your organization's needs, you can begin to develop specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound or SMART DEI goals. What the fuck? These goals should align with your organization's overall values, business goals, and strategic objectives, and they should be communicated clearly to all employees. It is also important to establish metrics and tracking mechanisms to monitor progress towards your DEI goals and make adjustments as needed. An example of a DEI SMART goal might be for every employee to have an inclusion development goal on their professional development plan. Once again, DEI will be the job of everyone at the company. It doesn't matter what your actual job is. There will no longer be DEI officers or DEI departments. Companies are going to gut those at the first sign of anyone noticing what they're doing, and they're going to immediately switch to changing the DEI acronym, to making these small changes to everyone's work so it'll be slipped in without people noticing. As Sasha Thompson said in DEI After 5, you have to hide the DEI vegetables because people don't want to eat them, but they need them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I love the doing it without saying it. What I say is I'm sneaking in the DEI vegetables.
I'm sneaking in the DEI vegetables. You see, they don't want to eat it, but you gotta make them. So you slip a little bit of sneaky DEI veggies inside their mashed potatoes and their chicken tendies. And once they get used to those, you can introduce even more. And one day, you won't even need to sneak them in anymore because they'll willingly eat them.
There you go.
I was like,
I love it. Let me write that one down too.
We're going to sneak it in. We're going to sneak it in. You don't know it's broccoli, but it's broccoli in there.
Do you get a raise for these added responsibilities? Of course not. Or that the organization will increase perceptions around inclusion or belonging through a DEI assessment. DEI talent programs such as mentorships, fellowships, internships, and scholarships that focus on specific demographics are not exclusionary. They are prominently featured in nearly 70% of reports and framed as essential tools for reaching diverse candidates, said Martha Carter, Teneo Vice Chairman and Head of Governance Advisory, in our interview. And in some of these DEI talent programs, I believe it was some company in Maine. Can't remember if it was a company or a university, but we were reading about some Maine place. And they said that, yeah, our LGBTQ and our African American employee diverse fellowships are going to be inclusive now. You don't have to be African American to apply for the African American grant. You don't have to be LGBTQ to apply for the LGBTQ grant. But do you think for a single second that anyone who doesn't fit that criteria is actually going to be receiving any of that grant money? Equality of opportunity is allowing the people they don't want to apply and just never accepting them. It's a religion, not merely a social ethos, but a personal one. Yeah. Yeah. No one needs this shit. It hurts race relations. Yeah, no one needs it, and I want to see it go away. I want to see it stop. I'm hoping that when Trump gets in office, he can do something about DEI in government and in universities and other educational institutions. But as far as it goes for corporations, we can't stop looking away from what they're doing. We can't listen to people saying, we're winning, go spend your money at these companies again. I'm glad I could get this out before the holiday season so you could do your holiday
Spicy
shopping
cat
here.
Raid. What the hell
right?
is
Like,
spicy cat raid?
if this is still happening, why would you give them your money? Irate Corvid, thank you for the raid. Welcome, Raiders. Welcome, Raiders. You brought baby birds to Mother Fox. I will not eat them. I will pet them. Building a DEI talent program is essential for ensuring that your organization attracts, retains, and develops a diverse and inclusive workforce. In recent years, with the rise of DEI, many companies pivoted to focus on diversity without focusing on inclusion, all to find that they were not able to retain diverse talent. To create an effective program, consider implementing talent programs such as mentorships, fellowships, internships, scholarships, why is she repeating herself, that focus on supporting specific underrepresented demographics. For example, if an organization does not have equitable representation of women in leadership, they might consider an internship or sponsorship program to support women in their career advancement. Why do we need the equitable representation? What is the number of equitable representation that is going to be the goal here? Because it seems like the goal is ephemeral. I can't pronounce things. It seems to be ever shifting. It seems that there's actually no real end goal here. As Morgan Freeman said when asked how we stop racism, just stop talking about it. Organizations generally have diverse representation at the front lines. There's an opportunity to develop skills with existing employees for career advancement. Allyship programs and employee resource groups, or ERGs, are also essential DEI talent programs. To use suppliers that do not reflect the communities an organization hopes to serve is a business risk. Yeah, I'm sure it is. To build an effective supplier diversity program, organizations should start by assessing their current supplier base and identifying areas for improvement. One thing, when a lot of these companies talk about the supplier diversity programs, they try to make it sound like, oh, well, if we set up a shop in like Colombia, we obviously want Colombian representation. That's diverse. But from the B.R.I.D.G.E initiative, part of what these companies are looking to implement is equitable availability of products and equitable pricing of products. And we've seen a few articles in the past before where companies briefly talked about how they could use AI to change surge pricing. So during different times of the day, items might cost more or less based on how many people want to buy said products. And if surge pricing is something that is going to become a staple of these companies, and they're going to be able to take advantage of, oh, you're going to pay more if you buy a cheeseburger during lunch rush, it's not a far leap with the information we already have that these companies can implement. Oh, this is a white person buying the product. They're going to pay 50 cents more. This is a shop set up in an affluent white neighborhood. We're not going to offer these specific products there. And if they want to buy those products, they're going to have to go to a store in this other neighborhood to sort of help the economy flourish in this underrepresented neighborhood. Alienating your customer isn't. These people are ideologically driven, and a good way to explain this to people who don't really understand what's going on is to point it out in video games. Because in video games, making a good story and a game that feels good to play has taken a back seat to pushing ideology. It's why we have games like Alan Wake 2, why we have games like Conquered, like Dustborn, like all of these giga-flop games that nobody wants to play. And Alan Wake is a little bit more subtle than the other ones. You still have some people trying to convince themselves that it's not woke because there's only a little bit of white male hatred in the game. I can handle a little bit of white male hatred. These people not fear the idea that if they pushed white far enough away, they may become the true racist? They already are the true racist. I don't know what you mean. Thing is, they don't care about alienating the customer as long as they can get the poor, unfortunate grandmas who just go, I'm gonna buy a game for my 12-year-old niece and nephew. And this is also part of creating the modern audience. I don't want it to happen, but ignoring the fact that this is what they're doing isn't going to make it go away any faster, right? Like, yes, communism and Marxism and all of its iterations has never worked before, and so I am banking on the fact that they will not get far this time either, right? But just because I think they will not get far doesn't mean I should just be like, oh, well, I don't need to pay attention to it. Their goal is to create the modern audience. The modern audience does not exist. They're making games ideologically driven. They're remaking games and remaking movies, removing what made those movies and games and other IPs popular in the first place. And younger audiences who consume the new generational slop will not understand that things were different previously. It's like when we were talking about indoctrination the other day and someone was just like, oh, well, they're just dumb. And it's like, well, you're not dumb. If you as a child have been inundated with one type of worldview, with one type of messaging, with one type of ideology, you're not dumb. You just don't have any other worldviews to compare it to, right? It's like when a child is born into a family that's in Scientology or in the Nation of Islam or in one of the like cultish Mormon sects, right? They don't know any better, and eventually there's a documentary that comes out on how they escaped the cult. A fish doesn't know it's in water. It's also why they made it difficult or impossible without the 7 Cs to access older games, because it would show how far game quality has fallen despite graphics and processing improvement. Yeah. It's just like, I mean, my argument about like CGI in movies being shit wasn't that great in my debate, but it's like, CGI in movies has become shit. It used to be pretty fucking decent. It used to be pretty good. CGI in movies was like, wow, I can't believe they did that. And now it's just like, goddamn, this looks like crap. How did that happen? While gender, race, ethnicity, disability, and LGBTQ+ are some diversity dimensions to start with, it's important that organizations broaden the definition of diversity to fit the needs of their market. Once an organization has assessed areas for improvement, it's common to build a scorecard to measure success over time based on key dimensions of diversity. And pretty much every company we've talked about on stream does have one of these weird-ass scorecards. Amazon's is probably the biggest, the longest, and the most robust as far as informational. They have quite a lot of statistics. I think the CAA, the agency, I can never remember what the acronym stands for, like Creative Artist Alliance or some shit. They're one of the biggest talent agencies in Hollywood. They also had a very revealing scorecard as far as information went. You'll buy a Kirsche plush to make a voodoo doll of it and dump it in tiger balm until the arm is better. God damn. Despite perception of DEI pushback, Tenio also finds organizations are continuing to use language consistent with diversity, equity, and inclusion. Wow! Wow, who could have seen this coming? Companies are taking steps to adapt to the current risk environment as illustrated by the following proof points. Although 94% of companies use some form of DEI acronym in their sustainability reports, more companies are prioritizing inclusion or adding culture and belonging. This is exactly what SHRM said to do. And if the company can't figure out how to make an acronym on their own, they're just going to take what SHRM said to do. They're going to be like, oh, well, SHRM is dropping the equity. Just inclusion and belonging sounds quite a lot better, because equity and diversity have become terms that people rally against because they've realized that we're using diversity and equity as subversive terms. 94% come out of their ass. I honestly wouldn't doubt that. While 80% of the companies with DEI goals last year remain unchanged. The SCOTUS decision on affirmative action in higher education led to a 4 percentage point reduction in the use of diverse representation goals. And I guess to expand on that, I would completely believe this 94%. I don't think this is pulled out of their ass based on how many companies we've read about, based on how many times I've pushed back on Robbie Starbuck claiming that companies are getting rid of DEI, and they're not, they're just changing the language. So I would believe this. And they say diversity, but it's always the same looking people with the same opinions like a cult. Yeah, absolutely. Have I been said Fatin Alaksir, Teneo Senior Managing Director and co-lead of DEI Advisory in our interview. Not a biased guy at all. Teneo's new report confirms how to bluff your way into landing a job if you're unqualified. What an interesting video to have in an article about DEI. Teneo's new report confirms that while companies may be modifying their external communications around DEI, they are still pursuing them. Despite the recent pivots and news headlines, the truth is that companies remain committed to DEI. And again, we already knew this from what we have read. Are there comments on this article? Can people comment on this? Because I would love to see if there's like humans. Here we go. See all comments. Here we go again. Another DEI is here and thriving article from you. Nobody cares about ESG reports. DEI is dying, like it or not. I wish it was, dear sir. It's losing legal battles at almost every turn because guess what? Giving race or sex-based preferences is illegal. That's true. He's correct about that. But instead of thinking, oh, hey, we need to change something because this has legal repercussions and it's a bad thing to do, these companies have been ideologically captured when initially they were lured in by the fact that they thought they'd be making money off of this. And now, it's not about the money, it's about the ideology. It's a losing legal battle, it is illegal, but they're going to figure out ways to get around these and try and do it without detection. Neurodiversity isn't a thing, nor is unconscious bias. I guess neurodiversity is their newspeak, like, subversive language for talking about diversity of thought. Because these people are against diversity of thought, so if they use neurodiversity, people are going to think, like, oh, the autism people instead, you know? Neurodiversity. Autism, yeah. Something that can never be proven because it's just that, unconscious. And I agree. You cannot untrain someone from having unconscious bias. That goes into like thought crime territory. And yet companies like Amazon talk about how they're developing AI to give to their employees in order to prevent unconscious bias from happening. You've created so many fake categories of diversity that everyone is now diverse, therefore everyone is both oppressed and the oppressor. That's not true. It is still white people, and specifically white men, who are the oppressors. Both a member of the dominant group and a marginalized member. No, see, the only way you as a white man can gain any sort of, like, diversity points is if you happen to be part of the T of the LGBTQ. Right, like, even gay men aren't diverse. Nobody gives a shit about bisexuals. The only way you as a white man can climb that diversity pyramid is to become transgender, which is why there is such a huge issue with both ideologues and fetishists co-opting what being dysphoric actually is and parading around their crazy noncery, and that people think that these are the people that all trans people are. But I love my penis. DEI jobs are evaporating, programs vanishing, preferences removed, and so-called metrics deleted. The grifters are being exposed for the false prophets that always were touting self-given PhDs in nothing more than psychobabble. And I can agree with some of this, right? DEI jobs are evaporating, not because we're winning, but because that's part of the plan. Programs are vanishing for the exact same reason. Preferences are not being removed, that is just entirely wrong. And so-called metrics are also not being deleted. There might be companies no longer reporting to things like the HRC, but they are still internally taking these metrics as recently as the last financial quarterly reports. The grifters are being exposed for the false prophets that were always touting self-given PhDs and nothing more than psychobabble. That is true for the average normie. I think more people are starting to realize that these people aren't dumb, they aren't telling jokes, they aren't just there to be laughed at. These are people who are seriously committed to a dangerous ideology and want to involve themselves in every aspect of your life to make sure that you adhere to their ideology and their ideology only. I don't think they're being exposed internally because, again, these companies have been ideologically captured. They're going along with this. They're trying to hide it. But I think more average people are waking up to the damage that this ideology does and recognizing how these people are the false prophets that they are. And the more people that understand that all of this quote-unquote woke nonsense, all of the DEI stuff is rooted in Marxist-Leninist thinking, with even some of the cultural revolution shifts from Mao, right? Once more people understand that, and it's not like a dirty word to call it out for what it is, I think we'll see a lot more pushback than we even have now. And we need more than just the pushback that we can offer of like yelling about it online. I've had people in chat talk to their bosses about these things. There have been people who try to take it directly to the companies. I've written letters to like politicians in my state. I think that's what needs to happen. Like, even if people ignore you, you're at least trying to do something. Primal Clown, thank you for the $9.99. That's a way to push out good workers, walk out of the labor force instead of dealing with token employees. Then later, companies complain that there's no good workers anymore, but hey, DEI is more important. I mean, we had an article about that just the other week. I don't think I closed the article. I mean, even if I did, I can just go to fucking where KB posted it. We read this article recently. DEI efforts are critical to the US economy because there's not enough white men. And I'm pretty sure there's a clip of this on my channel now from when I spoke about it. But they alienated white men from the workforce. They prioritized diversity over white men who were capable of doing jobs. They prioritized getting rid of white men in every kind of aspect and demonizing them. And now they're saying, well, we need more diversity because there's just not enough white men working the jobs. It's just like, god damn, man.